Hello and welcome to London King's Cross. Today we are going to be taking a first-class ride on one of LNER's Azumas from here up to Peterborough on the East Coast Main Line. First built back in 1852 by the Great Northern Railway, King's Cross is one of the oldest and busiest stations in London. LNER is the main service provider to King's Cross, but as the southern terminus of the East Coast Main Line, the station also sees trains from Hull Trains, Grand Central, Lumo, Great Northern, and Thameslink. Located next door to London St Pancras, King's Cross connects passengers with East Midlands Railway up the Midland Main Line, plus Southeastern High Speed, and of course Eurostar high-speed trains to mainland Europe. Heading inside, we can hang a left toward the Main Concourse. This new Main Concourse opened in March of 2012, replacing the rather unsightly 1972 concourse with this new open space that looks much better. My initial plan for today had us riding on the 9:06 AM LNER Intercity 225 service up to Peterborough, but the departure boards have immediately thrown a wrench in the works as the 9:06 has been cancelled. When trains get cancelled, the best thing to do is not panic. Instead, I scanned through LNER's website for another train that would allow us to ride on both an Azuma and an Intercity 225 set, and the best way to do that was to take the 9:30 train out of King's Cross, changing on to a later 225 set at Peterborough. With our schedule now fixed, we can head over to LNER's First Class Lounge. The First Class Lounge is located towards the north end of the concourse next to the Waitrose. Heading upstairs, we present our ticket to the attendant and enter the lounge. LNER's First Class Lounge is small but functional. There are enough seats around for a decent crowd, with a self-service bar in the middle providing light refreshments. Options at the bar include a selection of cookies and sea salt chips, or crisps as they're referred to in the UK, for snacks, with a selection of coffee plus still and sparkling water for drinks. From the limited selection, I chose a bit of everything, snagging a bag of chips, 2 packets of cookies, an espresso, and a bottle of water. It really isn't a lot or enough for a lounge that calls itself First Class. I was expecting a full-service bar and a wider variety of snack and drink options, but the selection was rather lackluster, especially from the southern terminus of the East Coast Main Line, one of the largest stations on LNER's route. One aspect of the lounge you don't see much of are the awesome window views out over the tracks. From up here, we can see platforms 5 through 8 in the foreground, with 0 through 4 behind the pillars supporting the train shed. While we're waiting, one of Grand Central's Class 180 Atalantes heads out on its way up to Sunderland. We'll be riding with Grand Central in First Class down from Doncaster in a future video, so if that's something you want to see, be sure to hit that bell down below to be notified when that one goes live. After hanging out in the lounge for a bit, the boarding announcement is made for our train and we can head out to Platform 3 to meet our Azuma. Waiting for us out on Platform 3 is 801-212, one of LNER's 9-car Azuma train sets. On the opposite platform is a Hull Trains Class 800 Paragon, another member of the Class 800 family. Making a U-turn, we can head down the train to find the first class coaches. We're seated today in seat 25 in car L, and upon finding our first class coach, we can climb aboard. Ahead of our departure this morning, we can take a look at the first class seating on our Class 800 Azuma. At a glance, the seat looks comfortable with a large headrest and side bolsters to keep passengers in place, plus a large table for dining. The seats do look a bit thin, both in width and in padding, meaning the longer ride up to Edinburgh, this train's terminus, could get a bit uncomfortable. Sitting down, there's about 12 inches between my knees and the seat in front, with a ton of space beneath the next seat to stretch out, although it's quite hard to show with the permanent table in the way. Speaking of the table, it's huge, and in all honesty, it's a bit much. I appreciate a large tray table, but this one can make it difficult to get in and out of one seat. At-seat power is provided through the outlet and USB port on the wall side of the seat. Each seat features 2 armrests which fold down and have a bit of padding on the top for extra comfort. Seat adjustments are made through the strangely shaped button on the aisle side of the seat. Pushing down shifts the seat bottom forward, bringing the seat back down into a reclined position, which explains the extra legroom from earlier. Towards the wall are 2 coat hooks, with one further up while the other is located on the seat back of the next seat. The seats are okay for a first-class train, but aren't really up to what I would have liked to see on board. The issues I mentioned earlier regarding the thin padding come into play here, with enough for shorter journeys but definitely not longer ones. The headrest is a whole other issue. It could have just been mine, but it sat way too low for it to be comfortable in any way, and whenever I adjusted it, it would just fall back right to where it was. Laid out on the table in front of us is the menu for today's journey. LNER offers 3 variants of its first-class menu: Dish, Dine, and Deli, each of which is a variant of the other 2. Of the 3, our train will be offering the Dish menu. Taking a look inside, we find a selection of hot and cold drinks, followed by the breakfast and dinner options. Breakfast is served on LNER throughout the morning, with the menu changing to brunch around midday and then dinner in the evening. From the selection of the breakfast menu, I chose the Belgian waffles with Nutella spread to start off my day. The one piece of information that should not be skipped over is the fine print at the bottom of the page. This states that journeys less than 45 minutes will likely not be served from this menu, instead asking that you check with your host for food options. Our ride up to Peterborough today comes in at 46 minutes, just barely clearing the 45-minute barrier. The clock hits 9:30 and right on time, our train departs London, beginning the 46-minute ride up to Peterborough. We're immediately plunged into darkness as we enter the gasworks tunnel beneath Regent's Canal, picking up speed as we go. Before we get too far from London, let's take a quick look at our route this morning. Our travels today will take us up the southernmost portion of the East Coast Main Line. Our train first heads out of London via Hornsey and Potter's Bar before continuing on north. We'll fly past Welland, Stevenage, Hitchin, and Sandy, reaching 125 miles an hour. Passing Huntingdon, our train lets off the throttle, slowing us down for our arrival into Peterborough. Our journey will cover around 76 miles over a travel time of around 45 minutes. Our first major landmark is Emirates Stadium, home of Arsenal FC. Passing Alexandra Place, our driver puts the pedal to the metal, bringing us up to and beyond 100 miles an hour. An onboard attendant soon comes through to take our breakfast order. Opting for the waffles, our attendant provided our choice of toppings, of which I chose the Nutella. A second attendant followed closely behind the first, offering passengers a choice from a selection of hot drinks. I of course went for a cup of coffee, because how could I not? It's a bit of a wait for our breakfast this morning as the crew are serving everyone all at once, which leaves us some time to enjoy the gloomy but still pretty English countryside. Breakfast was soon served. The waffle looked great and smelled incredible with a bit of sugar garnish on top. A first bite reaffirms my initial assessment of its quality, as it is delicious, and paired with the Nutella, it's a great way to start the morning. I was really hoping for a fresh cooked meal this morning instead of a pre-packaged waffle, but this is a great stand-in. While we cruise through the countryside, let's take a quick look at some stats about our train. Taking us up to Peterborough today is the 9:30 LNER Azuma service to Edinburgh Waverley, and is operated by one of LNER's Hitachi Class 801s, number 801212. Each Class 801 EMU is operated off the 25 kV overhead catenary wires, which powers its traction motors to produce 226 kilowatts of output or 303 horsepower per motor. With one motor per axle across its 5 power cars, Class 801s produce a total of 4,520 kilowatts or 6,061 horsepower. Class 800s are rated for a top speed of 140 miles per hour, but track speeds limit trains to a top speed of 125. The Class 801 was built on Hitachi's AT300 Intercity framework and comes in 2 variants, a 5-car and a 9-car. The 5-car trains offer a maximum capacity of 302 passengers, with 48 first class and 254 standard class. The 9-car trains like our one today have a maximum capacity of 611 passengers, with 101 in first class and 510 in standard class. The bathroom on board is located towards the front of our coach. The number of bathrooms vary from coach to coach, with some including 2, some 1, and some none. The single bathroom on our coach is a regular facility, with the first class accessible bathroom located in the rearmost coach. The bathroom, although small, is fairly nice and very efficient in its space usage, building the sink basin into the angled wall. The sink works well, but getting it to turn on with the motion controls can be quite difficult, as the sensor is almost against the far wall. The soap is full, with a hand dryer for a greener alternative to paper towels, plus the toilet paper was well stocked. Beyond that, the features are limited. There's a single mirror above the sink spanning the entire wall, and a coat hook on the opposite side of the bathroom. Overall, it's a nice bathroom, and the wood features add a touch of class to what would normally be a fairly standard facility. Returning to our seat, we can take a moment to appreciate the East Coast Main Line in rural England as we rip past at 125 miles an hour. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and so too must our journey, our train slowing in preparation for our arrival in Peterborough. The foliage breaks as we cross the River Nene, arriving in Peterborough only a minute later. As our train comes to a stop, we can open the doors and disembark onto the platforms. It's a short stop here for our Azuma, and having finished its exchange of passengers, our train continues on north towards Edinburgh. With our train departed, we can turn back towards the exits where we'll bring today's video to a close. Next week we'll be back in Chicago for the longest ride on the channel to date, a 28-hour odyssey on Amtrak's Texas Eagle from Chicago to Austin in the comfort of a roomette. The journey was incredible with great sights, wild weather, and a surprisingly comfortable room. I can't wait to share the experience with you, so be sure to stick around for when that one goes live. If you're new around here, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It's totally free and it really helps support the channel. There's a lot more incredible content on the way, so be sure to stick around if you want to see more. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Thanks for riding with me, and I'll see you in the next one.